Joining me to discuss that is Vic Matus. Victorino Matus is co-host of Getting Hammered. There you see him on the right if you're watching on the Salem News Channel. He's also the weekend editor at the Free Beacon. Vic, good Monday. I hope you're doing well.
Hello, Hugh. Yes, I am doing well and just barely made it in for this show after a late connection flight last night, taking my son for his first college tour. We went to Notre Dame.
Oh, so I've done that tour. It takes 2 minutes. Did he like it?
Loved it. We actually went to the game too, so it was a good day.
Yeah, you go to the grotto, you go to the game, and then you go home because you don't want him
Say
to
your
see
prayers.
Chicago. You don't want him to go to Chicago. Vic, I listened to you and Mary Catherine talk about the Oprah interview, and I listened to you. I also, by the way, whenever you start about buffets, I'm almost certain to skip past that because I cringe at buffet talk. I heard your shout out. Thank you for the shout out. Buffet talk just makes me, do you ever go to Sizzler, Vic? You ever go to a Sizzler?
I think like once or twice ever in my life. Where I grew up, there are places like Ponderosa. It's the same idea. You sort of bust your tray for a grill. It's like steak, but it's not steak. It's steak, but they cut it in half. That's why it's so
Yeah,
affordable, but
well,
it works.
when I was poor and in law school, my buddy Butler and I would go to the Sizzler because it's the closest thing to a buffet that I can deal with. But even that, I regret those days dramatically. Okay, Vic, you and Mary Catherine talked about Oprah. I talked about Oprah on Friday, and then I listened to Megyn Kelly's podcast, and I thought I was hard and you were hard on Oprah. Whoa, was she hard on Oprah? I think, in fact, the reason they're asking for a debate is they're trying to get everyone away from watching the Oprah clips. What do you think?
Yeah, it's interesting. If they thought that they were doing well, there's no reason for them to have her back on television and take that enormous chance and having her deliver another word salad. The problem is the interviews she does, even with this softball interview with Oprah Winfrey, with all the celebrities coming in. Isn't it so cool? They all love her. Shouldn't you love her too? She also delivered word salads, and so yeah, it wasn't great. She had one line, I think it was like rightly having the dreams to have rightly having the right to have dreams and aspirations.
Let me do the close, Vic. This is hard on you. You've heard it before. But for the benefit of the audience that has not heard any of the Oprah, this is the close, cut number 29, Kamala Harris on with Oprah.
We love our country. I love our country. I know we all do. That's why everybody's here right now. We love our country. We take pride in the privilege of being American. And this is a moment where we can and must come together as Americans, understanding we have so much more in common than what separates us. Let's come together with the character that we are so proud of about who we are, which is we are an optimistic people. We are an optimistic people. Americans, by character, are people who have dreams and ambitions and aspirations. We believe in what is possible. We believe in what can be. And we believe in fighting for that. That's how we came into being. Because the people before us understood that one of the greatest expressions for the love of our country, one of the greatest expressions of patriotism, is to fight for the ideals of who we are, which includes freedom to make decisions about your own body, freedom to be safe from gun violence, freedom to have access to the ballot box, freedom to be who you are and just be, to love who you love openly and with pride, freedom to just be. And that's who we are. We believe in all that. And so this is a moment where we stand knowing what we are fighting for. We're not fighting against. It's what we're fighting for.
Thank you. Thank you. Madam Vice President.
Vic Matus, you get to go first.
Again, I feel like the character Belloc in Raiders of the Lost Ark, where his head explodes at the end. That's quite something. I mean, I know there are a lot of voters out there who say, "Oh, I'd rather vote for a can of soup than for Donald Trump." And I think these are those voters. You cannot sit through that and think to yourself that this candidate has everything that you need to be the president of the United States of America. It's kind of this empty vessel. And I mean, look, you mentioned the jukebox with all the bad hits. I mean, that's right. I mean, it reminds me of a friend who once played a prank at a bar where all he did was play on a jukebox Who Let the Dogs Out like 5 or 6 times on his way out the door just to, torment people. And that's basically what this is the equivalent of. I don't know how you can, sit through that you know, without thinking, okay, this woman knows nothing.
That is the conclusion, which is why I believe she is asking for another debate. She's trying to get it onto the home court with Jake and Dana. Donald Trump's not going to do that. And I don't know that he'll do even Brett Baer and Martha McCollum. And I just think he's got a perfect excuse to say he doesn't need an excuse. He's winning. What do you think he ought to say in response to Brian Fallon and everyone at Team Kamala pounding the table and demanding another debate?
Yeah, I mean, maybe you're right that he shouldn't take the bait about doing another debate because if you're up, that's usually the reason not to do these things because you only open yourself up for more opportunities, to get yourself into trouble. On the other hand, Trump is very bold and impulsive in this way, and very confident. And I'm sure he thinks that I can take her on. Yes, I'll say yes again, but I really don't hope he does it on CNN or ABC, wherever. And that if he does do it somewhere, it's going to be on Fox, as you mentioned, with Brett and Martha McCallum. That would be ideal, and I think it would only be right after having done the other debates in the other two places.
I have a suggestion, which is accept the CNN debate. However, Dana is going to be replaced by Mary Catherine, or Jake is going to be replaced by Hugh Hewitt. Both Mary Catherine and I have done debate. And so they can't argue we can't do debates. We know how they work. We know how they set up. And so either you pull Dana and you put Mary Catherine in, or you pull Jake and you put me in. And maybe you do that. But really, they ought to go with Brett and Martha because what Kamala is afraid of is a follow-up. She hasn't had one follow-up in 60 days.
That's right. They mean to ask her some tough questions, and then when she opens up with the phrase, "Let me start with this," you're not getting the direct answer, and then you end up with knowing that she grew up in a neighborhood where people cared about their lawns, and it means nothing.
Yeah.
And so again, people have to sort of convince themselves that this is okay, and I don't know if that's working or not. It's certainly not working on me.
Vic, did you grow up in a middle-class family?
I did because yes, it's true. My father was a doctor in Toms River, New Jersey, but they don't start off rich. We grew up in an apartment. I mean, that's where I was born, and then we ended up going with. My dad still has the same ranch Rambler house to this day that we.
Yeah,
grew up
I grew up in a middle-class family. I also began life in an apartment. Dad bought a house for $13,500 on Arthur Street in Warren in 1960. And by the time I went to college, I would say he was upper middle class because he was at that point 55. But I don't believe that I grew up in a middle class is a winning message anymore because we've heard it 55 million times. And I do believe in repetition. Repetition delivers. Getting hammered. You guys always begin the same way. I love your little news bumps. There is an art to communicating, which is to over-communicate the basic stuff. But she now needs to actually, I think she's falling in the polls because she's so vapid. Do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, but what you're asking of her is an incredibly difficult ask, which is to elaborate on policies. And if you get down to it, I mean, either you hate Trump enough that no matter what she says or doesn't say, you're going to vote for her. Fine, that's the win for her. But if trying to nail her down on where she stood, where she stands now versus 2019 when she filled out that now famous ACLU questionnaire. Good luck with that. I mean, I can see you.
So glad you
there's a
brought that
huge
up.
internal struggle. Yeah.
Because there's a new Donald Trump ad out this morning on the 2019 ACLU questionnaire. Cut number, I want to make sure I get the right cut. Cut number 38.
Kamala supports taxpayer-funded sex changes for prisoners.
Surgery.
For prisoners.
For prisoners. Every transgender inmate in the prison system would have access.
It's hard to believe, but it's true. Even the liberal media was shocked Kamala supports taxpayer-funded sex changes for prisoners and illegal aliens.
Every transgender inmate would have access.
Kamala's for they, them. President Trump is for you.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
Vic, your reaction to that ad?
Okay, that was devastating. When she's there posing with the Assistant Secretary of Health, that's really, that it just goes over the top. That's it. You don't have to say anything, and you just, if you're a voter out there, the question is for you, does this seem right or not? And
did you hear the closing tagline? Kamala Harris is for they, them. President Trump is for you.
Yeah, that's right.
Some copywriter, somebody's brilliant.
Yeah, it's well done. If they have the means to get that onto the airwaves and enough voters see that, then yeah, it's a good reminder of, okay, well, let's be careful of what you're getting into here, because this is all we know right now based on this. And she hasn't been able to elaborate if she disagrees with any of it and why. And I think you and I would agree Bernie Sanders was right. She is just saying what she needs to say now in order to be more palatable for the general electorate and get elected. And then actually she'll just do the bidding of the far left.
When is Getting Hammered? Are you taping today, Vic, or is there a new one coming out tomorrow?
We are taping tomorrow for Wednesday, and then we're going to tape a very special episode on Thursday for Friday.
Oh, two Getting Hammered this week. Thank you, Vic Matus. Good early warning. Don't go anywhere, America. I'm coming right back. Follow Vic at Victorino Matus over at X, and go follow and like Getting Hammered, your morning show for any time of the day. And I really do enjoy it when I'm out doing my trundling, even though both of them are buffet fans. Can't understand why, but they are. Don't go anywhere, America. I'm Hugh Hewitt.